The sun hung low over the prairie, casting long shadows across the dusty settlement. In the distance, cattle lowed softly, and the wind carried the scent of dry grass and distant rain. It was a peaceful evening, the kind that makes you forget the hardships of frontier life. But for Elena Martinez, there would be no peace tonight. She stood in the small wooden cabin she had called home for 18 years, her hands trembling as she touched the delicate lace of her mother's wedding veil. Tomorrow she would wear it. Tomorrow she would become a wife, but not for love, not even for survival. For cattle. Her father, Miguel, had made the arrangement 3 months ago with the Pritchard family. 20 head of cattle and 2 breeding horses in exchange for his daughter's hand in marriage to their eldest son, Thomas. Elena had begged him to reconsider, had pleaded that she barely knew the young man. But her father's face had remained stone-hard, his voice final. "This is how we survive out here, Mia," he had said. "This is what must be done." Now, as Elena folded the veil with careful hands, she wondered if survival was worth this price. The morning of the wedding arrived with a cloudless sky. The entire settlement had gathered in the open field between the 2 family homesteads. Neighbors from miles around had come, not just to witness the union, but to celebrate the alliance it represented. 2 struggling families joining forces, pooling resources, ensuring another season of survival on the unforgiving plains. Elena wore a simple, cream-colored dress that her mother had sewn, the lace veil covering her dark hair. She kept her eyes downcast as she walked through the crowd, feeling the weight of 100 gazers upon her. She could hear the whispers, some admiring, others pitying. Everyone knew the truth of this marriage. Thomas Pritchard stood at the makeshift altar, a wooden cross erected in the grass. He was young, perhaps 22, with sandy hair and a nervous smile. He wasn't cruel, Elena thought, just empty. When he looked at her, she saw nothing behind his eyes, no recognition of who she was, what she felt, what she dreamed. To him, she was simply part of the bargain his father had struck. The ceremony began. The traveling preacher opened his worn Bible and started to read. Elena's father stood to one side, his face carefully neutral. Her mother wept quietly into her handkerchief. The Pritchard family patriarch, Nathaniel, watched with satisfaction, already counting his profits. Then, just as the preacher asked if anyone objected to the union, a voice rang out across the field. "I do." Every head turned. A man on horseback approached slowly, his silhouette dark against the morning sun. As he drew closer, Elena could see he was a stranger to most of the settlement. He was older than Thomas, perhaps in his early 30s, with long hair beneath a wide-brimmed hat and a full beard. His clothes were worn but clean, and there was something in the way he carried himself that commanded attention. He dismounted smoothly and removed his hat, holding it respectfully in his hands. "My name is Daniel Hartwell," he said, his voice calm and steady, "and I'm here to make a counter-offer." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Nathaniel Pritchard stepped forward, his face reddening. "This is outrageous. We have an agreement." "You have an agreement to trade livestock for a human being," Daniel said quietly. "I'm simply proposing a different arrangement." Miguel Martinez moved forward, his expression wary. "Who are you? What business do you have here?" Daniel met his eyes directly. "I'm a rancher from the Montana Territory. I've been driving cattle south and stopped in your settlement last week. I saw your daughter at the general store." He paused, then looked at Elena for the first time. "I saw the way she gentled a spooked horse in the street, the way she spoke to the children playing by the well, the way she helped an elderly woman carry her supplies." Elena felt her cheeks flush. She didn't remember seeing this man, but then, she had been too preoccupied with her impending fate to notice much of anything. "I'm not here to buy a bride," Daniel continued, turning back to Miguel. "I'm here to propose a marriage of partnership. I can offer your family 40 head of cattle, 4 horses, and a contract to supply you with beef for the next 5 years. In return, I'm asking for the chance to court your daughter properly. If she agrees to marry me, it will be her choice, not yours." The silence that followed was deafening. Nathaniel Pritchard sputtered in fury. "This is an insult. We had an agreement." But Miguel wasn't listening to him anymore. He was staring at Daniel Hartwell with an expression Elena couldn't quite read. Was it shame? Relief? Something else? "Why?" Miguel asked finally. "Why would you offer so much?" Daniel replaced his hat and looked across the field at Elena. "Because I've been alone for a long time, sir. Because I've built a good ranch but an empty home. And because when I saw your daughter, I saw someone who deserved better than to be traded like property." He paused. "I saw someone I'd like to know." All eyes turned to Elena. The veil obscured her face, but beneath it, tears were streaming down her cheeks. Not tears of sadness, but of something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Alina, her father said softly. The choice is yours. She lifted the veil slowly, meeting Daniel Hartwell's steady gaze. He didn't look away. He didn't see her as livestock or as a burden or as a bargaining chip. He simply saw her. I would like, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, to get to know you as well, Mr. Hartwell. The wedding didn't happen that day. Instead, the crowd dispersed in confusion and excitement, gossiping about the dramatic interruption. The Pritchard family left in anger, their deal broken, and Alina sat beneath a cottonwood tree with Daniel Hartwell. They talked about his ranch in Montana, about her life on the plains, about his late wife who had died in childbirth 5 years ago, about her dreams of someday learning to read and write properly. They talked until the sun began to set, painting the prairie in shades of gold and crimson. I meant what I said, Daniel told her as evening fell. I won't rush you. You can take all the time you need to decide. Alina looked at this strange, gentle man who had appeared like something from a story. How long will you wait? As long as it takes, he said simply. She smiled then, a real smile, the first in months. I think, she said slowly, I might not need very long. 3 months later, Alina Martinez became Alina Hartwell in a small ceremony attended by her family and a few close friends. But this time, when she wore her mother's veil, she wore it by choice. This time, when she said her vows, she meant every word. As they rode away from the settlement toward their new life in Montana, Alina looked back once at the prairie that had been her prison and her home. Then she looked forward, toward the mountains rising in the distance, toward the future she had chosen. Daniel reached over and took her hand. No regrets? He asked gently. Alina squeezed his hand in return, feeling the warmth and strength there. No regrets, she said, and for the first time in a long time, she believed in happy endings.